Hey, what's up, everyone? It's Jonathan back with another video. So let's get into how to set up your graphics. Well, first, what you want to do is instead of going into a race and go ahead and click on test drive. All right. So once you're here on this page, you want to select a car, a track, and what you want to do for daytime stuff. Now, what I would recommend is one, if let's say you're starting out, obviously if for instance, let's go to the street stocks, because if you're doing NASCAR or going to the oval route, if you will, you're going to start with the street stocks. So let's go and find the street stocks down here. They are right here. All right. We'll have Charlotte just for the sake of Charlotte, because that's usually where you will start out on street stocks anyways. Let's go into the graph or the weather. Now, to get the best graphics, what I would do is set it on afternoon, okay? Because that's usually where most of races are going to be run at. Yes, by the time you get down to the end of the season, they do change it to more of a more sunset style or late afternoon style. Like I said, you have late afternoon, noon, morning, sunrise, sunset, and nighttime. If you try to set your graphics when you're at nighttime, I'm telling you right now, you're not going to get the best graphics, because it's this nighttime graphics are different. They're plainly different. So I'd say set it at afternoon, and keep everything else the same for that. And then what you want to do is go hit test drive, and I'll get in there to show you how to have I would say the best graphics possible. All right, so this is the page that you will be, let's see, from the get-go, as you will want to go to options. And that will bring up this. Now, this will set up your steering wheel and stuff. So what I want to do is I'm going to do a separate video on that, because there's so many different things that will go into your steering's input, brakes, and all that stuff. Set that. So everything can be dependent on what kind of steering wheel you have. So I'm going to go into that in a little more detail in a different separate video for that. So let's jump into the graphics now. You have this bar, what's called the performance bar. You have max quality, max frame rate, and it's in class 2. What you want to do, okay, first is look at the resolution of your monitor. If it's a 1920 by 1080, then you go ahead and do it. Now, I'm using a TV monitor, or just a TV, I guess, if you will. So that's why mine is set at a different rate. But whatever you have, a 4K or whatever kind of TV or monitor you have. Now, most people have a 1920 by 1080. Now, if you're running VR, I will do another separate video for that one, because again, that goes into a whole different settings. Try to learn how to do that. Believe me, it took me a while to learn how to do all that stuff. It is very simple, yes, but it does take some time. And of course, this is all dependent on how your performance of your computer is. If your computer is not strong enough, trust me, you ain't going to be running maximum quality. You just can't. You're going to lose a lot of frames. You're going to have a lot of stutters. It would eventually crash your system if it just can't handle it. So right now, I set in class 2. Why? Because, well, my computer is not the strongest. Now, you may your computer may be as bad to where you may be running on all the way to class 6. I hope that's not the case, because then you're not really getting the best kind of look out of iRacing. But you can go as far as this. But what I would do as a recommendation, of course, go through everything yourself and detail it to your computer, what your computer can handle. And the best rule of thumb is, what I would do is, whatever it looks good at, go down 1, because you want to give some space to not only your graphics card, but your processor and everything like that. You want to give it just a little bit of space. So when you do load in extra cars, especially when if you're doing AI or if you're just racing online, you want to give it just a little bit of space so the performance does not fail or get worse as it's going through a race. So that's something I would recommend doing. So first things first, and of course, if you ever want to pause this or you want to go through everything slowly and read everything that I have, you can go ahead. But again, based on your computer, you got to do how you sees fit to your computer. Now, right here, you have sky and clouds. You have low sky detail may significantly improve frame rates. Okay, so at medium, right, you have pretty decent sky, but you're not gonna get the full detail of it. You have up to high detail, low, medium. Okay, I have set mine at medium. Now the car is the same detail for car. You have low, medium, high. Pit objects. Now, here is the thing. I have it set on low because I can care less if I see my pit crew or not. But if you see pit objects, you have to set it at least medium. I believe it's medium, yes. To set it to medium to be able to see your pit crew go over the wall. That's the only way that you're going to see that stuff. Okay. You have events that's details reduced around the track, things that look like they're moving or billboard signs and stuff. It's set to high because that doesn't really draw that much power or graphics energy and stuff like that. So it's not really too terrible. Grandstands and crowds are set at low. Depending on how much you really want to see the grandstands full or not, really depends on your preference. Me personally, it really doesn't make a difference. All right. At one point when I had an other computer, I couldn't run the grandstands. It was terrible. It just would kill the frame rates. Sometimes it does it here and there. It depends on what racetrack you're at, but usually it was constant. And I will say that too. Every racetrack is different on the way the graphics is, you may want to set them. Sometimes you can get away with just setting to one thing and it stays the same and it's okay. But for the most part, you may have to go in at a Daytona or whatever to just the graphics, due to the fact that maybe the graphics are just too powerful at that racetrack versus another one. Especially if they have a lot more grandstands versus another track. So again, go through everything for yourself. Your objects, details cause trackside objects to render, and then which improves frame rates. If you'll have it on high, the better the again the frame rates drop a little bit, but the better it looks. Again, I can get away with running high on this, no problem with it on class 2. This is a 3D foliage, grass, weeds, if you want that. Now, if you see anything in orange, what that says is changes may take effect only after exiting the session. So it means if you need to adjust, go ahead. You have to, let's say if you want them to be on, then I have to go out, hit done, exit out, restart the sim thing, and it'll be on there. Again, if you're doing this during an online event, I wouldn't want to be doing that right there because then they get out of the session, get back in. Hopefully it doesn't take too long for your computer to download or into the system. So that's something I would do. Do this all when testing. It's a lot easier doing that way. Again, particles, same thing, high detail. You have low, medium, high. This one, same thing. This is low or high. You can't. There's no medium in it. Just it's off, low, or high on the objects, and then that. So next is the draw. Draw of how many cars. So what this means, I can draw up to. Right now, it's set to max of 20. Okay, draw 30 to 12 cars. So it means I will only see. Okay, I would only see 12 cars. Draw in total. Okay, that's the only thing I'm gonna see. And now I believe what that is there's 30 cars in total, but I think only 12 draw from the rear. Or I think it's from, sorry, the front is only 12. I think I only draw so much from the rear, like 2 or 3, I believe. It's different depending on, so what that all means in general is, if I look at it, it'll say this: the setting controls how many cars are drawn in the mirrors and other cameras. Okay, so in the mirror, so that means I'll only see 12 cars in my mirror. That's what I only see. On pit road, I'm only going to see 8 in my mirror or other cameras. Okay, that's what's gonna do what you're gonna see. A maximum a total of 20 cars requires service. The service may not honor this request. Fewer, depending on your bandwidth. So, also depending on your internet as well. Frame rate control. Now, this is, well, it was set on that, but it should be unlimited. But what you should do, if your computer can handle it, go ahead and turn it on to no limits on your frame rates. Okay, when you set a frame rate, okay, it won't go any higher than what you have it set to. But also, what I believe, you're choking down your performance of your computer by not allowing it to just go as free as it can, because then it can adjust while it's racing. If you set at 84, that's it. As far as you're going up. But then whenever it gets lower than 84, it really drops the frame rates. It really can lag. Even if it drops down to 70 or even 60, you'll see the performance drops. So the best thing to do is to have it on no limit. Let it run over 100, sometimes even 200 frames per second, and then let it adjust accordingly through that. Now, of course, again, your computer, if it can't handle doing unlimited, then go ahead and set it. What I would do is I would just recommend what it's setting right here, 84. Or if you feel like, you can't even handle that, go ahead and drop it down to maybe 80 or something like that. Just, again, you want to have that wiggle room, so your computer's not overworking. That's the thing. All right. Here, this is all done computer-wise. It will set it up to, through recommendations, which actually, when I'm done with that, I'll show you another thing that you have to do on the outside that will help get you ready for this as well. So that's a little bonus at the end here. After that, sky's the limit on all of this. Rendering dynamic track data. So what that means is you are like on the bottom here, but in this case, you will see rubber laid down. You can see the rubber laid down on the racetrack and everything like that. It's your choice to see that or not. I would say if you want the full experience, go ahead. Again, if your computer can't handle it and you're dropping way too much frame rates and you're really dying, go ahead and click that off. Night shadow maps. All right. This option enables the use of shadow maps at night lighting. The methods to performance over shadow value sense. Performance is significantly better. So it's just gives you that night shadow look. Again, computer can't handle it, turn it off. All this stuff that you naturally have on here is just to make it look better. But if your computer can't handle it, and you can be okay, if you're okay without seeing the full details, there are certain things I feel like you should have on, just so one, the visual looks good, and two, it does help you in racing as well. Like one thing, the rendering the dynamic track data, I would prefer you to have that on, because then you are seeing what the car or what the rubber's doing, where it's laying down, and where you can run and can't run. So that's something I would least recommend having on. All other things, at least have that on if you can. The trees, the 2-pass trees, enable options rendering the trees in a higher quality. It's on because I can handle it. Again, you don't really need it if you don't want to. High quality trees. Now, cockpit mirrors. These are the ones that are built into the cars already, right? Your actual mirrors. Now, you have a virtual mirror that most people, almost anyone on iRacing uses, unless you run in VR. And if you run in VR, then yes, mostly you will use the cockpit mirrors that are in there, but most people use the virtual mirror. And when you add these to it, higher detail of the mirrors and the cockpit mirrors, you're gonna hit a performance rate in your frames. So again, this is all based on frames. And the more you add to it, the worse you can. Now, if you've got the biggest, baddest computer ever, set it to high quality, turn everything on, and let it go. And it doesn't matter. But even the highest performance computers tend to even take a hit with this. So, if anything, if you don't need it, don't use it. You have sharpening, HDR, high graphics things. Again, a lot of this, the heat haze, don't worry about that. Yeah, it looks cool, but you're really not going to care to see it. It's not really going to do much to help your performance. It's all about the steering wheel. Visually, you want just to make it look good. And if you're a content creator, yeah, you want to make it look as good as possible. Now, the best thing to have all this set up here, I'm in as you see here, you have full screen, border, and then enable SPS. That's for VR. Don't worry about that. That should always be checked off. But here, you have full screen and border. So if I clicked on this, I won't because sometimes it messes it up a little bit for me. But if I clicked on this, you'll get the window screen. Okay? If you click on the full screen is the same thing like I'm doing here. But however, if let's say I was to exit out something on a different page, it'll pop the border lines back up. So the thing is you want to do is click off full screen and border, and it'll give you this. And now I can actually go on to the other thing, pop it up, and when I do that, it will not bring up, or it won't kick this out in Windows mode. It'll just leave it in as whatever I need for it to be. So that's how that works for the graphics settings. All right, so with that being said, now there is replay, which is basically the same as doing that. It's nothing different, except there's less things you have to do versus on the regular graphics side. After that, there is nothing else for the graphics side of that. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and go back to the main page and show you something to help you out right off the bat, so you don't have to configure things yourself. Alright, so let's go to the settings. Now, this is something I think I believe I showed you before, but I just said it was in the settings. This is what you would want to run for, your UI scaling and stuff. Now it's 100%. You should leave that on there. But what you're going to be running for your screen. So let's say I'm going to run just a monitor. All right, this all here doesn't matter. What this matters. Graphic config. So if I was to click on this, it will bring up a page, okay? And it will then tell me to recommend my graphics card, what graphics card I'm running, okay? Now, every computer is different. You may have two, you may have, I don't know how many graphics cards, but most people only have one. It'll recommend your graphics card. Click on that, and it'll config the settings already for you. You don't have to do anything. It'll set up the whatever monitor you're running, what monitor you're running on, and everything like that. And then, of course, you can go in and fix other things that I was telling you on the graphics stuff. But that right there alone, then you don't have to go in and adjust your 1080 and all that stuff. It does it for you, and it's so much better to do that. To tell you the truth, when I first did iRacing, I didn't know about that, and I wish I did. If I did, I wouldn't have gone through any of that crap. I would have just, I went through other YouTube channels and tried to figure out, what do I need to do? If I hit that, boom, it automatically does. Now, when you first do it, when you first download iRacing, it should tell you to already do that. But if it doesn't for some reason, then you go here and do that, and I promise you, it's so much better. It helps you so much getting set up, and then you can go fine detail everything. It is really, really good. Well, guys, that will do it for this one. Thank you so much for tuning in for this episode. I hope this did help you, and I'm hoping to get more videos out in coming days. I kind of want to actually do a little bit of a fire session a little bit, and then I kind of back off and do something different after that. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a good rest of your day. Hope to see you in the next one.